Right now on WUSA9, it is Election Day in America. Months of campaigning all comes down to this. Voters across the country are casting their ballots right now.
The race for the White House is set to be one of the closest in history, but who will come out on top? Vice President Kamala Harris is closing out her campaign with a message of unity in Pennsylvania.
America is ready for a fresh start, ready for a new way forward where we see our fellow Americans not as an enemy, but as a neighbor.
And tonight, the campaign trail ends here in D.C. at Howard University, Harris's alma mater.
Meanwhile, former President Trump wrapping things up in another battleground, returning to Michigan and leaning into more hateful rhetoric in the final hours of the race.
We will defeat the corrupt system in Washington because I'm not running against Kamala. I'm running against an evil Democrat system. These are evil people.
Plus, could the path to control the U.S. Senate wind through Maryland? Will voters once again rally behind former Governor Larry Hogan? Or will Prince George's County Executive Angela Also Brooks get a promotion?
And on the other side of the Potomac in Virginia, another Senate seat on the line. Senator Tim Kaine hoping to fend off a challenge from Republican Hung Cao.
From the big national races to the local contests that impact you, we've got you covered all night.
Live coverage of the 2024 election starts right now on WUSA9 and streaming on WUSA9+. Yeah, you see right here, they're now in just 2 hours until the first polls close in Kentucky and Indiana. Those two states could really provide our first look at where the presidential race is heading. One thing is certain, though, it is unlikely we will know who won the presidency tonight. Thank you for choosing us on this historic day in America. I'm Lorenzo Hall.
And I'm Leslie Foster. We are live on WUSA9 and we're streaming on WUSA9+, and we want you to settle in because we will literally be here with you all night. More than 81 million Americans voted early, and that includes 7 million here in the DMV, and millions more are casting their ballots today.
Yeah, this is one of the most intense campaigns we've ever seen in this country. It's only been 107 days since President Biden dropped out of the race. And that move, drastically changed the race for the White House. It changed a lot that day, right? Well, we want to begin tonight with Christian Benavidez live in Atlanta and the all-important swing state of Georgia. Once again, we know a lot of folks are going to be watching what happens in Georgia tonight. We should be getting some of our first results from that state as well. He has a look at how voting has gone so far today.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Georgia and other places. As you said, Christian Benavidez is there. He has been taking the pulse all week of early voters and here on Election Day. We're going to be interested to hear what folks are saying to you, Christian, as you have traversed the state. Let's hear it.
Already more than 4 million people have cast their ballots in early voting here in Georgia, and more than 1 million are expected to cast their ballot today.
Polling sites across the country are seeing strong turnout as voters decide the next president. Voters say they came out to weigh in on the issues.
The southern border is definitely a big issue for me.
For me, it's going to be women's rights.
Heading into Election Day, polls showed former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris basically tied in the 7 key battleground states, including Georgia, which set an early voting record and has busy polling places today.
I love the energy.
So you think both sides are energized?
To a certain extent, yeah, I think so. I think you're seeing more passion.
What do you think is motivating those who are voting for Kamala Harris?
Hope, honestly. Hope everybody, sees that America is ready to turn this new page in our history.
The closeness of this race indicates results will likely take a while. On his way to the Harris campaign watch party in D.C., running mate Tim Walz made a stop in make-or-break Pennsylvania.
It's going to take some time to get results. We're going to go up, down, but at the end of the day, as we always do, we will get the results that we know are accurate.
Casting his ballot in Palm Beach, Florida, Trump sowed doubt about the process.
I'm hearing in Pennsylvania they won't have an answer till 2 or 3 days from now. I think it's an absolute outrage if that's the case.
Both candidates will be watching closely with one of the most contentious and unpredictable campaigns in history now in the hands of the people.
Now, the race here is razor thin, but officials believe they'll be able to count most of the ballots today. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger said about 70% of the votes should be counted by 8 p.m. tonight.
right, Christian, we know that Georgia counts fast. We'll
Yeah.
see how fast and when that vote comes in tonight. All right, and we're getting this video just in from DNC headquarters in Southeast D.C. That's Vice President Harris stopping by to thank the volunteers within just the last hour. Those volunteers were in the middle of a phone bank, and so Harris jumped on some of those calls, too.
Still working before this all wraps up.
Down to the wire.
Yeah, in the meantime, we're following some breaking news here in D.C. We know law enforcement is on alert today and ready to respond to any threat this election day.
Yeah, we're getting some word that U.S. Capitol Police have made a rather concerning arrest. An arrest of a man at the Capitol Visitor Center. Police say he smelled like fuel. He was carrying some unusual items. And that's not it. Our chief investigative reporter, Eric Flack, is live there now. Flack, we know that officials just wrapped up a press conference a short time ago. What did we learn?
Yeah, that's just about 30 minutes ago. The U.S. Capitol Police Chief gave us a little bit of an idea about what they can say about what happened this afternoon. It's a bizarre scene. It started just after noon here, right at the U.S. Capitol's Visitor Center South entrance, which is behind me. Now, officers noticed a guy just kind of approaching the entrance, the security screening, looking around. They were a little bit suspicious. They asked him to put his jacket and his bag through the security screening machine. He did that. When he did that, they immediately saw what appeared to be a weapon, a firearm, 2 bottles, and some other paraphernalia. They immediately arrested the man. They aren't releasing much information about him so far, but they said when they searched that bag, they found not only that flare gun, but also 2 bottles of gasoline. The bag, in fact, smelled like gasoline, and there was a lighter, like a torch lighter that you would use to light a cigar. The chief didn't explain exactly what his intentions were. Here's what the chief did tell us, though, when we asked him.
He had papers with him that he said his intent was to deliver them to Congress. We're still going through all of those papers. It's quite a bit. We are trying to determine where, in fact, he did come from. And again, active investigation, so there's a lot of follow-up. When we get that information, there'll be additional follow-up.
So they immediately shut down the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center, but there were already a number of tourists inside. They determined that because the man was in custody, they weren't letting anybody else in, but they did allow a bunch of those tourists to stay inside and finish their tours. So we saw them walking out of the Visitor Center and asked them, hey, did you hear about what was going on? Many of them, most of them, had absolutely no idea. They said other than it seemed a little emptier than usual, they had no idea that this was transpiring outside. There were a number of visitors, tourists, including a couple from Holland who had showed up after the incident trying to get inside the visitor center. They were turned away. They certainly understood, but there was a lot of disappointment out here. So really just a very strange scene. The police chief complimented his officers for their quick reaction and how they handled it. They said the suspect was taken into custody without much incident other than what he had in his bag. Still really unclear on what he was going to do with those items, that torch lighter, those 2 containers of fuel or gasoline, and that flare gun. Still unclear there. Again, the chief saying he was going to deliver some sort of a letter to Congress, but the chief didn't really reveal what was inside that letter. So a lot more to come on this. We have some sound from some people who were around as all this transpired. We'll try to get that for you later in the show.
Yeah,
Guys, back to you.
Yeah, we know they found the suspect's car a few blocks away from the Capitol as well, Flack. So if a lot of folks who live in the area may have been wondering what's going on, they found his car there, and they say that car has been cleared. But good work by those police officers.
Yeah, I was going to say, they always say, see something, say something. And in this case, it was the police that saw something, did something, and potentially kept something that we don't know from happening. Eric, thank you.
All right, some other news we're following right now. We got our first results of the 2024 presidential election just after midnight. Dixville Notch, New Hampshire is the first place in the country to vote on Election Day. It's a tradition that dates back to 1960. All eligible voters cast their ballots when the polls open at midnight, and that group is very small, by the way. There were 4 Republicans and 2 undeclared voters who participated. In the end, it was a tie. Vice President Harris and former President Trump each got 3 votes. Now, back in January, Nikki Haley got all 6 votes in the Republican primary. So listen to 2 of those voters explain why they voted the way they did last night.
Came down to a simple question of loyalty. Harris is willing to give me hers, Trump wanted mine. For me, that's backwards. The president is supposed to be loyal to the people. People are loyal to a king or a dictator, but the president works for the people.
And tell me why you voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him because of the policies, and those are the ones that, align with my beliefs. And so it wasn't necessarily voting for the man, but it was voting for the policies.
All right, so what can we take away from all this? Dixville Notch is typically not a bellwether for the rest of the country, but the last time there was a tie was back in 2012. Barack Obama and Mitt Romney each got 5 votes. President Obama went on to win in a landslide.
Once every vote is cast, all that's left to do is watch and wait. And political experts have told us we probably won't have those presidential results tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris will monitor those returns here, as we told you, in the nation's capital.
Yeah, her election night party is taking over her alma mater, Howard University. The vice president calls it really a full circle moment. Her first run for office was as a freshman class representative at Howard. Our Lionel Donovan joins us live from campus tonight. Lionel, we know it is still early, but what's the mood like out there right now?
Well, Lorenzo, the university is closed for classes, businesses, and everything else. And as you can see here on Georgia Avenue, this section of the road has been locked down in preparation for Vice President Harris's arrival. And as you can see, a lot of people have been taking advantage of the closure, walking up and down the street. We've been seeing a lot of Kamala Harris shirts on folks as they've been coming out, enjoying the weather. Now, getting to the campus in and of itself has been a challenge. On our way here, kept running into road closures, so make sure to keep watching WUSA9 for any traffic updates if you are traveling in or around DC. Now, as you can see right here, many folks have been walking up and down the street, and many of them are students. I spoke to some of them about what's been going on, and they tell me that although it's been inconvenient, it's an honor to have their university host the next potential president.
I mean, it just kind of speaks to her platform and the volume that she holds, that, we as students are the ones that collectivize and we make the motion to, have impact within the election or any type of movement. So I feel like it speaks volumes that she chose Howard, because Howard is a place for monumental growth for anybody that attends. So it really showcases that we really make motion, to keep it simple.
Now, like I said earlier, there are a lot of road closures around Howard University, and those closures are likely, I should say, to intensify as we get closer to Vice President Harris's arrival. So make sure to tune in to WUSA9 to get the latest updates on traffic conditions and election results around the DMV. But for now, we're live at Howard University. Lionel Donovan, WUSA9.
It is surely not just another day here in Washington and on the campus when you can see all of those roads shut down. You can see all those young people so filled with excitement and possibility as they get ready for what could be an exciting but a long night.
Yeah, no matter the outcome, they're going to witness history tonight for sure.
Absolutely. Lionel, thank you.
All right, we got to talk about that Senate race in Maryland now. We know it could tip the balance of power in Congress. Former Republican Governor Larry Hogan is hoping his popularity in the state is just enough to win. But we should point out it is an uphill battle against Democrat Angela Alsobrooks. She's the current Prince George's County executive. Polls have showed Alsobrooks leading over the last several weeks.
This is one of the most expensive races in the state's history. Our Larry Miller is live at Alsobrooks campaign headquarters in College Park. And Larry, the candidates, really everybody's been busy today, down to the wire.
Yeah, it is down to the wire, Leslie, as you just mentioned, with the candidates not only crisscrossing the state, trying to find those last-minute votes that are possibly out there, but also voting for themselves as well. We caught up with the candidates as they were at their respective voting locations, voting for themselves, but also voting up and down the ballot as well. We know that Alsobrooks voting for Harris, and as we learned today, former Governor Larry Hogan actually leaving the top of the ticket blank. Now they're voting for Harris nor former President Donald Trump. The two say that it's been weeks of campaigning that have taken to this moment. They're both excited, but looking forward to what the results will bring in tonight. Here's what the two had to tell us earlier today. Take a listen.
I'm grateful for the opportunity. I'm so happy for all the voters who have come out today. We've seen them streaming one after the next. They're coming out as families. They're coming out as first-time voters. It's my daughter's first time voting, and and in our country in 2024, my daughter had a chance to vote for her mother and Kamala Harris this year for her first vote. And what a beautiful, and so many. Think about all of the people who made this possible. There are people who really believe today was possible.
It's been a long, hard campaign every single day. We've been working hard, so is the team behind me. We have great thousands of volunteers across the state. It's been really great momentum over the past couple of weeks. We really feel like we're surging, and I feel like we're going to pull off the biggest upset in America tonight.
All right, so both sides are rather optimistic that they'll be able to pull out respective wins. Do want to point out that Democrats have a pretty significant advantage in the state of Maryland, 2-1, in fact. And so in order for Larry Hogan to do well in this state, he'll need to pick up about a quarter of Democrats. But his campaign telling us earlier today that they feel confident about what the results will bring, feeling like they'll be able to pick off some of those independent voters that could sway their way. Of course, we will wait to see what the results will bring in. In the meantime, we're expecting Angela Alsobrooks to make her way here later on this evening. The polls in Maryland close at 8 o'clock tonight. Guys?
Regardless of what happens tonight, history could be made on either side. So, and obviously this Maryland track, right, could have a whole lot to do with the balance of power in the Senate. So all eyes and a whole lot of money have been on this race.
Mary, thank you.